Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and today Apple released iOS 12.3 to the public. This is available worldwide and should be available on any device iPhone 5S and newer. Now, if you had the beta on here prior, you do not need to remove the beta profile in order to receive it, but you will need to update to have the latest version. If it's not installing for you though, go to General, scroll down, go to Profile, delete this profile, reboot your device, and then you'll be able to actually install iOS 12.3. Now on this device with the beta installed, iOS 12.3 came in at 2.84 gigabytes. If you did not have the beta installed prior to this and you were just on iOS 12.2 or older, it's going to come in at a little bit smaller, around 464.3 megabytes, depending on the device. Let's take a look at the build number. You can see the build number is 16F156, and this particular build adds quite a few things in the background, including a lot of security updates. I'll talk more about that towards the end of the video. But the first thing it adds is AirPlay 2. So if you have one of those new smart TVs that has AirPlay 2 capability, you'll now be able to share your photos, your videos, and your music directly from your phone like you can on an Apple TV device. So if we wanted to share this through, say, screen mirroring or something like that, and we had one of the smart TV devices, we could share it with our different Apple TV or that TV. So you'll have that ability now if you have one of those smart TV devices. The next thing they updated has to do mostly with the TV app. So that's what this major update is about. 12.3 adds support for this new fully redesigned TV app, and it allows for subscriptions and things like that. So I've mentioned this before in the beta, but it has not only the different TV shows and movies that you own, but also the ability to subscribe to a bunch of different services. And it also will keep the location of the last thing you played. So maybe you were watching the last Game of Thrones or Band of Brothers. You'll see it actually keeps the location. If I were to play this, it would start over, or it wouldn't start over, it would start at the location I left off. That's directly from the TV app, even if it has to go into something else like Amazon Prime Video. So that's a new little feature that they've added. They've also added Siri suggestions to watching movies and TV shows. So if you go into your Siri suggestions, you may have one for TV shows when there's something new. And then also they've added intelligent suggestions on device. So other than just Siri suggestions, there might be different suggestions not only in the TV app, but popping up on your device from time to time. Now with this Apple TV app redesign, they've added a kids section, and this kids section gives suggestions for different things for your children to watch that are more age appropriate. And whether or not they actually are though, there may be some other things in here. Hopefully it's a little bit better than some other services out there, but so far it looks okay. But again, it's a new section that's in here. Now, aside from this Apple TV app, there are a bunch of bug fixes and improvements. And so if you use the News app here, which I don't really, but if you use the News app and you've got News Plus, you'll see my subscription expired. If I go to News Plus, we now have the ability to follow magazines. So if you subscribe to this and you want to follow a magazine, you can follow it, not just subscribe to it, and maybe have it let you know when there's a new magazine available. So that's a new feature as well. Now, another update they've done has to do with Apple Music. And if you've got the For You tab here, you can go to your recently played, but it also gives a bunch of suggestions. And this will change multiple times per day, where before it did not, and it may take a couple days to change. It should change daily based on what you're listening to, your moods, and your genres. Now, one of the fixes that they've actually included with this has to do with the Apple TV remote. So if you're using the Apple TV remote, either built in here or the app itself, it will now pause properly and allow you to control the different things like volume or pause, play, and actually just work properly. Whereas before it did not work so great. Sometimes you'd go to pause it and it just wouldn't do anything. So all of those things should be fixed. Also, this one should be a big one for a lot of people. Wi-Fi calling, if you're on Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi calling should no longer drop your call when you're on a phone call, and that can be incredibly frustrating for a lot of people having issues with Wi-Fi. So finally, Apple has addressed this, and hopefully it fixes other issues with Wi-Fi as well. It also fixes Apple CarPlay not showing song information. So if you're playing a song and you're on Apple CarPlay, sometimes the song just wouldn't show up or the information wouldn't properly. That should be fixed as well. Now, as far as security goes, there are 23 different security categories of fixes related to everything from the kernel to mail to WebKit and more. And I'll link that in the description if you'd like to look at that more thoroughly, but there's a lot of different fixes in there that have to do with the security of your device. And I highly recommend you update to this version because of all those security fixes. They've really fixed a lot of vulnerabilities. Now, aside from that, we have no idea whether or not they fixed issues with LTE. In fact, this phone doesn't have my SIM card in it right now. My 10R does. But we have no idea whether or not they fixed issues with LTE dropping or Wi-Fi dropping. Hopefully they did. And battery life as compared to iOS 12.2 seems to be pretty solid. I wouldn't say it's a vast improvement, but it seems to be pretty solid overall. This is the past few days of running the latest beta. I've had 5 hours and 6 minutes of screen on time, 1 hour and 6 minutes of screen off time, and there's quite a bit of background activity as well. So that's probably with about 20 or 30% left. So we probably would have a solid 6 to 7 hours of screen on time if I let the battery go down to 0. Now, aside from that, speed seems okay with this. With beta 5 and 6, speed was good. Not only scrolling and things like that, but going back to an iPhone SE, your different things like scrolling in music usually are pretty solid. And the OS is responsive even on the oldest devices. If we go to the 6S Plus, and you can go to older than that, you'll see if we go into music, I haven't opened music in quite some time on here, not since it rebooted with the update. We'll go into the App Store. You'll see it loaded nice and quickly. Go to games. You can tap on a game here. And everything's opening nice and fast. So no issues with older devices. Now, there is no new changes when it comes to the iPad. Everything's the same. Everything's nice and smooth as well. Now, I ran a Geekbench on all of these devices, and on the XS Max, the Geekbench scores were pretty good. 4,785 for single core, 11,326 for multi-core. Compared to the history, it's doing quite well. No dramatic changes or shifts in the actual numbers or anything. So we're pretty solid. I wouldn't expect any slowdowns or anything like that. If you'd like a benchmark on all of these, take a look at all these devices where I ran that. As you can see, we have Geekbench scores on the iPad Pro 10.5, iPhone SE, iPhone 6S Plus, iPhone XS Max, and iPhone XR. So this should just give you a baseline for what they should be about. Now, they may go up in a little bit of speed over time as all of those background changes going on are completed. So overall, it should be pretty good. So that's it for iOS 12.3. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below, and we should see iOS 13 with the big changes, at least the first beta of it, with it releasing in September finally to the public. We'll see those changes in the first week of June. So be sure to check back for that. Also, I'll be doing a follow-up video on this particular update, so I'd love to hear what you have to say about it in the comments below, and check back for my YouTube community poll that I post a few days after this comes out. If you'd like to get your hands on this wallpaper, I'll link it in the description as I always do. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe and like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.